2 is nationally as well, depending on the poll. So we'll see. But yeah, Rich makes the point to remind us that rivalry week is multiple weeks. Next week, it's Atlanta United and Nashville, Hudson River, and Union and New England. It is 7:36 on the West Coast. And my first question for our traditional guest in this time slot is, how much sleep did you get after what happened late last night in the beauty of the Open Cup? But since he's here, we got to roll an open and be real fancy about it, because that means this guy's now. So how much sleep did you get, sir? Oh, he's got the Rave Green out. That's what he's getting at. There it is. Rave Green. Is it cup 1 or 2?
This is 2, and this is my first 10 ounce. The first one was a 20 ounce.
Wow!
And that's because, to your question, I got 3 hours of sleep. Not just because I was up late, but I had to be up early because the wife wanted me to go to the gym, and that's been her regimen here lately. Get me out of bed, will not let me stay in bed, although I roll and I stick my head under the pillows like a ostrich. So not a lot of sleep, but I did get to watch a few of the Open Cup games, and I wasn't at Starfire yesterday, I have to admit. It was my dad's birthday, so had to be there for Dad. So I had to, again, do the son thing, go to the birthday party, then come back, watch the whole 90 plus overtime plus PKs, and it was good. It was fun, at least to get enough information, enough insight for your show today. I said, that's worth it. I need to be ready for tomorrow. So here I am, 3 hours sleep, second cup of coffee.
Woo. Oh, brother, you're braver than I am. All right, so question to the floor, and it came from our buddy Bart Keeler over at the Soccer for US POD. And it has to do with VAR and Open Cup. First question. If a game is not at Lumen involving the Seattle Sounders and it's at Starfire, is it possible for technology to be in place at Starfire to have VAR available?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if there's one room. It'd be interesting where they would put the VAR room.
Or I mean,
there's already
even enough cameras to where you could send it to a centralized location, like on an MLS match day, where you had enough cameras available to you, and send it to Niko's studio, where you'd have dudes in a room looking at VAR. Would there be enough camera locations or anything like that?
I mean, I would say that it'd be tough for me to give you a definitive answer, but I highly doubt it. I mean, I've done radio broadcasting from Starfire. I have done just regular shows from Starfire, from that specific location. Half of the time when I used to do, well, actually most of the time when I used to do the Spanish broadcast for U.S. Open Cup games and on, I have to be outside behind the crowd to get things going. It was tough to get internet. It was tough to get a whole bunch of things ready for a good broadcast. I know KJR was there yesterday, and they had some technical issues, and they were there a long time trying to get a good broadcast out. So if a simple broadcast is hard to establish at that location, I think it'd be very difficult for me to believe that there's enough bandwidth and technology and I mean, cameras could definitely be there. There's places to put them at, but how do you communicate? How do you connect it all? Where the referees would be at? I mean, I think it'd be very difficult, to be quite frank.
Okay, yeah, because we were trying to figure out universally, okay, if you don't have VAR in this particular round as everybody is advancing, when could VAR be used outside of the championship final in Open Cup and have it be a benefit to the tournament, instead of just not having VAR and you're waiting, or you're not having VAR available to you, period. So that was just the biggest question, is like, when in a perfect world could you have VAR as a part of Open Cup? I said, really honestly, it would probably end up having to be the final, And that might be it, because if you can't have it in one location, you shouldn't have it in all the locations.
Exactly. And you're spot on. And I mean, I haven't been to all the other, USL stadiums, but just like I said, talking particularly to Starfire, there's a lot of limitations that everybody knows, and that's kind of the beauty of it, and the magic of it is how awkward and odd, and I don't want to call it amateur, but it just feels different than just your regular games, and part of that is the size of the press box and how difficult it is to get just one, not just one, but two broadcasts going out of there. I mean, yesterday you had the USL broadcast, you had KJR. So, yeah, it's definitely difficult to get those sort of things happen at Starfire. So I would think that is the same for a lot of these USL teams.
Yeah, and I mean, we were looking at the possible home venues in the next round, and it's Charleston Battery, so that's Patriots Point, that's USL Championship. Al Lang, Tampa Bay, USL Championship. Children's Mercy, Sporting Kansas City. Seattle playing Phoenix. I imagine that's going to be back at Starfire in 2 weeks. They're not going to move it to Lumen yet. Sacramento, it's going to be at Heart Health, USL Championship. LAFC, it would be at BMO. You could do it there. Indy 11, it's at the Mike, or whatever family has spent $9 gazillion to put their name on the field. That USL Championship. And then if it's at NYCFC 2, that's at St. John's University, and it's MLS Next Pro, and it is a field that is on top of a parking deck. So
wow.
I mean, that's you want to talk beauty of the Open Cup, brother? That is a field that was constructed at the top of a parking structure because they didn't have any room to put it. So it's like, all right, we'll put it here, and we'll put like fences and netting around it, so the balls don't go off onto campus. And honestly, and Dylan Butler from MLSsoccer.com was on with us yesterday, and he said, honestly, if you hit the ball out of play in the right location, it will go into the parking structure underneath the field, and you'll have to go and try and find it. So ain't no way.
I got to check that out. I got to check that out. That sounds right down my alley when it comes to U.S. Open kind of experience.
And so they had the win last night against Colorado Springs, and so they get New Mexico United next. So that will be interesting there. But magic of the Open Cup, and last night it took a while for Seattle and Lou City, and we had this one circled as one that might be trouble because of what Danny Cruz has done at Lou City. And you end up with goals from Paul Rothrock, Danny Masofsky to get you the 2-0 lead. Then Lou City comes back with a PK in the 67th, and then a goal in the 89th. Nothing happens in the extra 30. You go to PKs, and you're up until an ungodly hour. God forbid, those of us on the East Coast would watch it. We'd probably be up to like 1:30 in the morning. But magic of the Open Cup, you got a rough one, and you got out of it to advance to the next round.
Yeah, I knew there was going to be a difficult one, not just because Louisville is a really good team. They're well coached, and you saw that throughout this game. You knew that they were going to have a lot of guys behind the ball. The 3-man backline is more of a 5-man backline. But just Starfire has been a difficult place for U.S. Open Cup and the Seattle Sounders. Call it what you will. Some things is the curse after the red wedding and all of these things, but it's just hard. Last time I was there was very similar, but it was against San Jose. It all went to PKs, but San Jose ended up winning it in the penalty kick shootout. In this one, it was maybe a little even more frustrating just because it looked like Seattle was gonna win it in 90. It seemed like everything was going their way. But before I go into the result and the PKs, let's go into some of the players, because I know that when those who maybe have not been following either the Tacoma Defiance or Seattle Sounders in general, they saw 15 minutes of Georgie and were just amazed, and they were asking for him to be a starting player and taking time completely from Leo Chu. Some even called to bench Jordan Morris for Georgie. And I just feel like sometimes that's an unfair expectation for a kid like this. And although I do agree that he's got a lot of potential and he should be getting some minutes, yesterday was the perfect explanation to those who don't see him often of where he needs some polishing. Georgie is a fun player, and those of us here at the beat, or the people who really follow this team up close, those there like Jeremiah and myself who are there every day, we've known Georgie for a while, from the Tacoma Defiance and this preseason in Spain with this team. He shined. And if you talk to the first team players, they'll tell you exactly what he's good at. But there is some polishing that needs to be done. You saw it yesterday. Wait on the ball on passing, field awareness, just vision of play. Uh, the pass that he gets into for Paul Rothrock's goal is great, but that's maybe the fifth or sixth attempt he gets on that. A few of those did not just go his way, but they were just too hard. One is a pass back that ends up to a counter for Louisville. So let's give this kid room to grow, room to polish. He's good. There's a lot of potential there. Another message that I got was, this is going to be another situation like Sam Adeniran. Look, Sam looked more first team ready than Georgie at this specific point in time, but this kid's going to be good. He's athletically gifted. When he's going downfield, he does it well. I like defiant players. I'm South American, man. I love the flair. I love the shiftiness and the willingness of just taking on a player one-on-one. But there's more to soccer than just those specific things. So let's let him grow. I think he's going to be a player that eventually will get a first-team call-up contract, not just a call-up. So he is on his way, but he's just not quite there. Andrew Thomas stole the show completely in the PK shootouts. As soon as the extra time was about to be finished, I was this close to tweeting, I would bet everything in my bank account that Seattle goes through, and it's thanks to the Andrew Thomas show. I didn't. It's all right. Jackson Phelps from KJR, we had this conversation on Tuesday. Andrew Thomas is that guy when it comes to PKs. Okay. People don't realize that being a PK stopper is a science. It's a DNA. It's a chip. Just like it's with goal scorers, penalty kicks, stopping. You could be a great goalkeeper and be really bad at PKs, and you could be a so-so keeper and be really good at PKs. And Andrew's very good. He stole the show. Four saves in the penalty kick shootouts. Not just that, but then has the courage to ask for the ball in that final shot to put it away. So my applause to him. I praise this kid because some players don't shy away from the light, and some look for that light, and that's what Andrew did, baby. He was there to show who he was, put that ball in, got Sounders through. So applause to him. Other honorable mentions in terms of MVP, because I think that Andrew stole the show. Danny Leyva, really, really good with his passing. Every single set piece had some danger, some nastiness to it. Paul Rothrock, he's a guy that just knows where to be at the right time. He's another guy that has some nastiness to him. He has a really good read of the field in the goal he scores. He never gives up the play, knows where to be, puts it away. And then Cody Baker, he's got a little gangster to him, some little Drago gangsterness to him. It's like that. If he dies, he dies. I mean, the kid he's a quiet killer. He's a quiet killer. And man, he body checks this guy on a 50-50 ball. And then he stands over him, talks some smack, bounces out. This kid is interesting as well. Another one that needs some polishing, but I like his demeanor and his approach to the game. So there it is. There's what I needed to say about this game. Another point that maybe was heavily conversated here is the lineup. I still don't understand how people are still amazed or surprised that young players for first teams get a shot in this one. That's what the Open Cup's about. That's what this round is about, is seeing your players develop. There were some first team players like Alex Roldan who had a so-so day, Josh Atencio. So it's a mix, and that's what you're going to get every single time from these MLS sites. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we had that with Atlanta United going up against Charlotte Independence out of USL League One in the mix of young kids, some getting the call up like the day before. It's like, dude, I got an injury. You're hopping in. We had some of those moments, but yeah, it's about the mix and seeing how the younger players interact in these kinds of moments where your future in a cup tournament is on the line. And so you get to see how these young players act and react in these situations. You mentioned shootouts, and while you mentioned that Andrew Thomas is a shootout specialist, a PK shootout specialist, there is another individual that is even better, an even better shootout specialist, but it has to do with 35-yard run-ups, and it's not quite from the spot. It's our gentleman Garth Lagerwey, he is the number one save percentage leader in the history of the run-up shootout in Major League Soccer. 66% save percentage, saving 2 out of every 3 in the old run-up shootout. Garth Lagerwey, man, that's your piece of trivia for today.
I like it. I believe it. And I mean, if it wasn't his presence, it was the hair back then. But either way, you were getting distracted.
Yes, absolutely. And so Garth has the number 1 save percentage. I want the run-up back as a shootout. That to me was always fun. But yeah, you mentioned the mix of all of the youth and experience that's there. I mean, it was Musovski, Rothrock, Tevis, Minungu, Danny Leva, Jasa Tencio, Cody Baker, a little gangsta Cody Baker, I guess is probably, we have to say that now all as one word. You got John Bell, Stuart Hawkins, Alex Rodon, and Thomas going up against that USL Championship side. And it's interesting to see these mixes and who steps up in these moments, and to have the build that Seattle has always had with the youth to come through the system and be ready. And we were talking about it with Atlanta United this morning, where Atlanta United seems to be developing into center back university, where if you're developing for Atlanta United, it's at the back. Over time with Seattle, it's pretty much been the same, where you go out and you spend money on the high-priced attackers to help you out up front, but the development comes from the back forward, if that makes any sense. Am I reading that right with Seattle and their history?
I get what you're going. I think it's pretty balanced.
Okay.
I know you're probably talking about Sam Rogers and now Stuart Hawkins, who 17-year-old who gets to start yesterday, very promising, but obviously had some issues yesterday, which were expected from a young player like that. There has been some quality right backs, left backs, Cody Baker being part of them. Reed Baker Whiten. So yes, there is definitely that. But then there's also the Josh Atencios and the Leyvas and Ocampo Chavez's, and there's been other players that have come up. I think there's a lot of balance and very obvious because of the volume of talent that the Sounders pick up from their academies, right. the way that they grow them. And so, I think it's pretty balanced, but Seattle has, spent some money when it comes to the center back position as well, with Javier Arriaga at one point, with Yamar Gomez Andrade locking that down, bringing Chad Marshall in. I mean, there's definitely been a good balance mix of it. I think when it comes to this Sounders pipeline, it's just best available player of where you're at. You're going to get your chance. You're going to get developed. Tacoma Defiance is going to put you ready for the big leagues whenever it is necessary. You're going to get a 2-day contract where you're going to come up. You're going to do some things, get to show what you got, and that's all part of it. But I don't think they zero down in a specific position, although defenders, if we go throughout the whole back line, maybe there's been a big surge over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was gravitating, because you get to see you get to see a Jackson Reagan, you get to see an Obed Vargas, you get to see. I didn't know where the mix was when it came to development over recent years, where with Atlanta United, you're seeing the growth from the academies come from the back that stay, and you have a George Bello who comes through and develops, and then he goes overseas. But you got the folks back with Atlanta United right now. It's like center back university. It's like if you're looking for stuff at the back, you're looking at Atlanta United for the folks to get things done at CBU. It's that time where we go straight into cliffhanger, And we were doing the math this week. 11 teams have not won on the road this season, most of them in the Eastern Conference. But it's just stunning to see that, we're at turn one heading into the backstretch, the first backstretch piece of the Speedway here. And 11 teams have not won on the road this season in Major League Soccer. So I'll go ahead and lead off because our friends at Odds Portal, they believe in doing things alphabetically. And I cannot believe it took me 3 years to figure this out, that they do things alphabetically when it comes to the home team. I cannot believe it took me that long to figure it out. I was Atlanta United's first at 7:30. I don't know why this is. But they do it alphabetically. Atlanta United, DC United north of plus 300 coming to town. Atlanta United a minus 139. What do you think?
Ooh, man, Atlanta has been tough to watch because they seem to create opportunities, create chances, and don't get the final product in. Gigi has cooled off a little bit. I think that Silva is a huge missing component there. I've told you about Almada, man. Look, I think that there's a lot of talent there, and there's no doubt about that. He was last season, but there are times where he just doesn't give you enough for what the ceiling in his kid is, and I'm not sure what it is exactly, but it just hasn't come through defensively as well. Regardless of the coaching and the talent, just at times it seems to be a little bit difficult on just effort for the ball and 50-50 balls. Minnesota's game was the perfect example of this in a Minnesota team that is very odd, very difficult to play. But in this one particularly, I could see them having a bounce back game. I think DC, if we learned anything from the Sounders game, is that they have some holes in the back and they are subjective to counters, and that's something that potentially Atlanta can exploit, and something that Atlanta is good at. I feel like that midfield needs to be a lot quicker, and that turnaround in that transition play just has to be a lot more decisive. But I think this could be a bounce back game for Atlanta. I don't know if I would take it on the juice boxes, but I think Atlanta can definitely win this one.
So speaking of juice boxes, Messi and friends go north of the border and they play CF Montreal. CF Montreal, their sporting director basically told Joey Saputo, "Peace out, Boy Scout," and I'm done. So Inter Miami comes to town at a minus 115. CF Montreal, who is offensively challenged, is at a plus 282. I'm thinking you're looking at a total here. I think that's what you're looking at with a number north of the border, not necessarily the juice boxes at a minus 115.
Yes, I would like to. I would like to see the goal breakdown rather than anything that have to do with winning either one of these teams, because you're not going to get enough out of going for Inter Miami. There's no way you'll convince me to get on the Montreal boat. Even a draw. It's difficult to look at Montreal because I like the coaching. I like some of the pieces. You've seen glimpses of what they could do with this specific group, and then they just have terrible games and games where it all falls apart for them. And we got to see it firsthand here at Lumen, but it's definitely one of those things where you don't know which Montreal you're going to get. But with how hot Miami has been and how in sync they seem to be at this point in time, it'd be difficult not to take in. But what's the breakdown on the goals?
3.5 is plus 130 for the over. 4 is plus 222. 4.5 is a plus 286.
I'll take it at the 3.5. I wouldn't take it beyond that, just because there are some injury concerns that I could see in Miami downshifting if they were to get a lead. Yeah. Obviously, the schedule gets pretty excruciating here on out, so you might get some kids playing these games, and you could just lessen that ability. But I feel comfortable with the 3.5 in that one for sure.
Red Bulls hosting the Revs, big favorite at home in New Jersey. Purple team goes to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a minus 109. The purple team at the bottom of the East is a plus 273.
Oof. I like the draw on this one. What's the draw on this?
In the composite, basically the same thing, a plus 271 on average.
Yeah, I'll take that draw. Look, Orlando City is probably the biggest disappointment for me this season. I had them winning the East. I had them just dominating uh, MLS over in Miami, and that, that'll tell you enough about where my predictions have gone this year. But in reality, it just hasn't worked. And Galessa seems to have taken a step back. He's having some difficulties, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but there's been a lack of confidence. There's been misread plays. In the last game, at least they show some character. They go down a man, they're able to stay in the game, and they got real quality guys with speed like Angulo. But it all goes back to just those defining players just not doing enough. And I'm done waiting for Facundo Torres. I'm deciding that this is just the player who's going to be his career, just a little bit inconsistent, and that's just not good enough. A Maguire, if he's not getting any services, what else can you ask from the kid? I mean, he'll finish, but he's got to get the ball at a certain point. Defensively, they handle things, but they do have issues when it comes to reacting to through balls, and that's just been a concern. So I could see this being a draw because they're two teams that are having difficulties this season, that they have holes in their game, that at times looks very stagnant. So I'm going to go with the draw in this one.
Okay. Charlotte and Nashville, overlooked by a lot of folks, understandably so. Charlotte's favored on the plus side at a plus 104. Toronto FC, probably an early surprise on the Eastern Conference, is an underdog at home to NYCFC at a plus 179. Your draw's a plus 238. I might look there.
Give me that one. Give me Toronto over New York City. New York City has yet to fix the problems up top. I know that they got a good stretch of wins, and you thought that it was all fixed and dandy, but then you go against Colorado, you cannot score. You create chances, and Santi Rodriguez gets tired of volume play and getting you there, and Ojeda does well. But Baccarat just does not look like the guy that's going to be your guy. He's going to need 8 to score 1, and it's just not good enough for New York City FC. They've had a impossible task to replace Tati Castellanos, and that's normal, right? I mean, getting a guy like Tati is difficult, but at least substituting Moneyballish from your wing backs or your creative players. And Santi has done some of that. Santi, you cannot fault Santi Rodriguez because he does that. He finishes what he gets. He's a guy that is good on set pieces, but they're just not enough for New York City FC. And Toronto, with their very simple, grindy, Toronto-ish style of play, I think they're going to pull this one. So I'll take them as the home underdog all day, every day.
Plus 179 in the composite. Hell is real. Columbus and Cincinnati. Columbus favored on the minus side at a minus 118. Draws a plus 267. And FC Cincinnati to win on the road at the Death Stars, north of plus 305.
Wow.
Draw, plus 267.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the draw. That's exactly what I was looking at. And look, Cincinnati, man. Cincinnati up top has struggled, man. And, ever since I heard of, Bapuenza getting his jaw broken by a pro boxer? Is that what it was?
Yeah, but the thing is that you're at a pizza joint. What is it we always say? Nothing good happens when you're hanging out after 1 a.m. It was 2 a.m. The pizza joint was closing. Aaron Bupenza apparently had a beef with a dude who's a pro boxer, got his jaw caved in. I feel like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Glass jaw. and he's out 6 to 8 because of a late night, early morning shenanigan. And so what else is going to happen with FC Cincinnati? But hell is real. I got to go draw. That's what I'm looking
Yeah, I got to go draw as well. And look, if there's a team that can disconnect and limit and contain Lucho, it's Columbus, because Nancy is just that guy. He's going to create this bracketing system to just hold and limit Lucho. And no Lucho, no fun. I mean, this guy he's the everything for Cincinnati right now, right? Baird has been okay, hasn't been the guy that he was last season necessarily. And honestly, they have yet to really replace Vasquez. I like Arellano. I think he's done a good job on that side, doing some Barrialish things, but there's just not enough from the Cincinnati team on the offense. They can do it defensively. They're still well coached. They're still organized. But in order to beat Columbus, you got to have a little bit of a right hook. You got to have a little bit of punch. And I don't think Cincinnati has it.
Now, that happened to Bupenza.
Hey, no pun intended, but he kind of came out. I like it.
You're right.
Wow. All right. That's good. Okay.
No Lucho, no party. SC Dallas, Austin, Copa Tejas, Dallas is favored. Sporting is favored after surviving the Murder Owls of Union Omaha going up against the Dynamo. They're on the plus side. All Caps at home favored against Chicago Fire. Turn the page. Rapids at home against San Jose. They better be. LAFC at home, big favorite against Vancouver. LAG and RSL. RSL loses in Open Cup in the midweek. Goals by Fidel Barajas and Diego Luna. But RSL goes to LAG late night Saturday, the last one on Saturday night.
And what the numbers on that? And yeah, I saw that New Mexico game. That's what happens when you get a team that has nothing to lose, and they understand the assignment, and they get goals early, and they put you on your heels and break your will, and that's what happened. And in reality, I think RSL, to be quite honest, it's focused on MLS. They see where they are in the standings. They see an opportunity to win the West. I think they absolutely can. They're at this point my favorite to do so. Although I'm not gonna lie, they were my second in the preseason rankings. But I really do believe that RSL is thinking more of MLS, and they weren't too upset about getting bounced out of the US Open Cup. Although the coach would never admit that, and I know that you want to win every tournament and yada yada yada. But I feel like if you really wanted to win this, it might be a blessing in disguise, because this team should be focused on MLS.
LAG's a minus 103. Your draw's a plus 268. RSL's a plus 257. You want to know totals?
Yes, please give me total, but I'm taking RSL right there. Plop, putting the mark on it. RSL in this one. But let me see the composite of the goals, because I might double up on this one.
3's a minus 128. 3.5 is a plus 123. That's when it turns.
Oof. I might double it up just with the 3.5 and the RSL. But I like him. And I think Galaxy is a good team. But you saw in Seattle the need for specific players. I know Rick will be back. I'm not sure if Delgado will. I don't think so. And
don't know about the Bishop either, Jovic.
Don't know about Jovic, exactly. And look, Barry can do a lot of things, and he has a lot of effort, and he makes a lot of runs. But at the end of the day, when it comes to being a goal scorer, once again, I'll say it over and over again, you just need that different type of guy that knows where to be, when to be, and how to score. And that's Jovic. You don't have that guy, you're going to have some difficulties. Although, man, Greg, I have to say that Greg Vanny is a guy that I haven't had a lot of time to spend time with. And I know a lot of people don't like him. He rubs people the wrong way. But I had a real good conversation with him in the locker room. He had no need to come talk to me. Actually, the PR guy, Kevin Acevedo, called him accidentally. And they're like, hey, do you want this one-on-one? And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And he was just really cool dude. Sat down, talked. So nice guy, but I think in this one, RSL will take it. I'll take RSL in the 3.5.
All right. So then Cascadia is the last one on the board. It's the only one that is popping up on the schedules on Sunday, 4:45 Eastern. Juice Boxers are just kind of like they threw a blanket over the whole thing. Either side to win's basically a plus 160, and your draw's a plus 242. So they don't know what's going on.
Give me a draw. Give me a draw on this one. I'll take the draw all day, every day. I could see this being a 2-2 game as well. So I don't know what the conversion is on goals, but if you have a 3.5, I'll probably take it there. Seattle has done well progressing the ball, putting the balls in prime scoring positions. Against LAG, they were very, very unlucky to have not scored at least one of those. And I'm not going to repeat it again. It does go back to quality. It does go back to just the form of the players that you currently have. And Albert Rust not necessarily giving you enough, and Leo Chu coming in and not doing enough, and having all of these opportunities inside the 18 and not putting enough shots on goal, on frame. Christian Roldan had one, Leo had one, Raul had one, Jordan had a few. So it's just the team that currently can score. But at Portland, against a team that has been conceding a lot of goals, with a little bit of that incentive of this rivalry, Raul plays them well. I could see this being a 2-2 draw at Portland for Mother's Day, which it's inconvenient. The time is inconvenient. Everything about this Classico, which I won't be able to go to. I try to sell my wife on it. You know what would be nice? Sunday in Portland, baby. Let's go to Portland. Did not work. So I would not be at the game.
To answer your question, sir, so if you're thinking 2-2, I'll build up to it. 3 over-unders a plus 162. 3.5 is a plus 221. 4, if you say 2-2, 4 on the nose is a plus 357.
Ooh. Wow. You know what? Just because it's a gut feeling,
yeah,
I might go with that. I like those numbers. The draw plus the 4, that's happy juice boxes for me. Yeah.
All right. So what's going on at Pulso Sports on the Soccer Bar, which is coming up in short order?
Oh, yes, sir. Soccer Bar, we're going to be talking about a lot about what just happened in U.S. Open Cup. We're going to have the protagonist, of course, Danny Leyva, speaking about the game that was and how difficult it is to sometimes face teams that are going to go all out, physical play. So that's coming up on Soccer Bar. On Pulso Sports YouTube, do follow us for what's going to be the game analysis of this Classico. Since I'm not going to be there, I'm going to make sure to get around and maybe talk to Brett Evans, talk to Coach Pete Fewing. I'll get somebody nice and important to come and talk about this matchup, about the form of the team, about what just happened here in U.S. Open Cup. So on Friday, you should have a real good pre-game analysis of Portland versus Seattle.
All right, my friend, as always, great to catch up with you at El Rolo NW. Go get a nap or at least a half hour and make sure that your alarm gets set because we don't want you to miss anything. Be safe, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week.
I might get a third cup or just start injecting this thing into my bloodstream. But thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure. Have a good one.
All right, be good, my friend. That is Niko. Before we go, Doug Robertson of the AJC is at training this morning, dodging, hopefully, thunder and lightning. And he's reporting that Stian Gregerson is out for Saturday. Not necessarily a surprise, considering that if it was a concussion sub that Stian Gregerson had, that was what it was exercised for. You've got to go through protocol, and considering that it happened in the midweek, you've got to get ready for the weekend. And so, could be a combination of Abram and Noah, and Efren Morales, line 1. So do not be surprised if your back line is Wiley, Abram, Noah, and Brooks Lennon. So we'll see. But that's just my gut after what we got the news from Doug Robertson of the AJC. Stian Gregerson out for the matchup against DCU. Noon Eastern, 45 minutes from now. We're going to do Soccer's in Session Live. We'll go through what has happened so far. Brian Messer, the assistant head coach for McIntosh, joining us right out of the blocks, and he will discuss, weather permitting, McIntosh and Decatur, and we will go over what happened yesterday. Westminster beats Johnson Gainesville. Jason was on the call for that one, and we will recap that. Another title for another Blue Blood in Westminster. Johnson Gainesville getting to the last match of the year as well, and we'll go over all of the results that have happened so far. Big day yesterday. 3 venues, 6 champions crowned. We'll go over all of that. Brian Messer will bat lead off. We'll see if we can get Maddie on, if not Maddie and Luke, before Maddie turns to graduation. So we'll go through all of that. Once again, top of the hour back here. It is Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So thanks to all of our guests this morning. Thanks to Bart for putting up with all of the rambling. And as always, it's a Thursday with Niko, so it's always great to have El Rolo NW hanging out with us as well. courtesy of our friends at Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar. So tomorrow, Beyond Goals, hopefully they can join us at 9:30. Jason joining us at 10, and we'll get you ready for the weekend and get you ready on a couple of different fronts for everything that's been going on. Then Soccer's in Session Live again to get you ready for the 7A finals, and we'll put a recap on everything else in the season when it comes to the high school soccer activities here in the state of Georgia. At official GHSA Soccer Championships, weather permitting today, could make things oddly interesting for tomorrow if things get pushed back, if championships happen, if they don't, if weather, plays with the activity at 5 and 7:30 at the two venues today. So GAC Cambridge, McIntosh, Decatur, Roswell, Marist, Sprayberry, River Ridge, Jess, Jason, Justin Hanover, and Jarrett Smith. So that's what it's looking like coming up later today. So noon, Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Thanks for hanging out with us. We've gone through Thursday. Stay dry, stay safe, turn around, don't drown. So just be safe, and we'll be back here at the top of the hour. Hutch says it's raining out, and yes, make sure that you are prepared to make sure that you stay as dry as possible, and make sure that you have your galoshes, your coats, and your umbrellas to make sure that you are safe going from point A to point B today. So I'll be back here once again in about 40 minutes. We'll do Soccer's in Session Live, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. We'll take you through everything going on in the world of the GHSA Soccer Championships. Mucha plot, y'all play it safe, and since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. See you before you know it. We'll talk high school soccer at noon Eastern.